guys, Kuka here, and welcome to the most controversial video I will probably ever make on this channel. I mean, I don't know, in an earlier episode I did say I don't like dogs, so I haven't really avoided controversy up to this point. But today, for the March Disneybound challenge, the prompt is Mary Blair. And Mary Blair was an artist. She was an artist working for Disney. She worked on the concept art for a lot of old Disney movies like Cinderella and Peter Pan, and she worked on Song of the South. And I know Song of the South is a movie that people want to cancel so hard because America is rife with censorship these days. And I don't really want to get into a whole thing, but I couldn't resist making these characters. And I rewatched Song of the South today, and honestly, I had completely misremembered that whole movie. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and with what everyone has said about it, all the kerfuffle surrounding this movie, I remembered it being a lot more about race. And honestly, it's not even a little bit about race. It's a movie about stories. And the tragedy to me is that people want to cancel Song of the South. They want to censor this movie into oblivion. But this movie is about telling the stories of African Americans. The legends and folktales that they told to each other. These are real stories. These weren't made up for the Disney movies. These are African American folktales. Now, admittedly, they were written down and compiled by a white man. This is a real thing. But he went around and he heard African American storytellers tell these stories, and he wrote them, compiled them, because he wanted them preserved. And he did dialect writing that is very controversial, but at the time he was trying to preserve the voice of the people. He was trying to preserve the way these stories were told as best he could. Was he the right person for this job? I don't know. I don't know everything about the time period. I don't understand everything about how people were interacting with each other. But I do believe that it's important to keep these stories. I think it's disrespectful to ignore this era of American history. A Song of the South has some uncomfortable dynamics in it. There are some things that just seem really weird as a modern viewer about how different people are living. But I think it's good that that makes me uncomfortable. You know, when I watch this movie and I see the people living on the plantation and the freed people who are no longer slaves but are still definitely living in poverty and as working solely as servants, it's uncomfortable, and it should be. It's important to see how far we've come and, you know, maybe reflect on how much further we have to go. Things are complicated. Life is complicated. And I don't think we should water that down. I don't think we should simplify that. And look, this is a very simple movie. And honestly, like I said before, it's not about race. It's about story. It's about the importance of telling stories and the good that they can do. It's a beautiful story. Very, very simple, very pleasant, very cute. I love the art when it shifts into cartoon. If you haven't seen the movie, the whole concept is that Uncle Remus tells these trickster tales of Br'er Rabbit, and the stories always have to do with what's going on in real life, and they guide this little boy as he hears the stories, and he makes decisions based on things that Br'er Rabbit did, and it's so good. But as Uncle Remus tells the stories, we see them in cartoon form, and it's beautifully done, masterfully done. It's reminiscent of the parts in Mary Poppins where they enter the chalk drawings, so there's live action people in a cartoon, but I honestly think it's even more beautiful than it is in Mary Poppins. Like, it's just so well incorporated, and there's a scene at the end. I don't want to spoil anything about this movie because I feel like a lot of people probably haven't seen it, and you should. If you can track it down, you should watch it. You should understand for yourself, even if you wind up deciding you don't like it and you do think that the dialects and the depictions are racist. I still think it's worth watching to make that opinion for yourself and to start a discussion. When we bury movies, when we refuse to let people watch them, when we shut them down, we stop the conversation. And I honestly just think there's so much good in this movie. I think it was made with good intent. I think it's based on stories that were made with very good intent. Whether the execution is perfect or not, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm the right person to say. But I know that when I watched this movie when I was 5, all I felt was deep love of Uncle Remus. I love Uncle Remus and his stories so much. I'm a storyteller, and it spoke to me to see the power of story. That's what this movie is about. And if we silence this movie, we silence those stories. So yeah, I'm not normally one to get up on a soapbox or really talk about anything political or controversial. That's not the point of my channel. My channel is about playing Sims and celebrating cartoons. Like, it's here for fun, and I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but I also want to be able to say things that I believe. And I believe that Song of the South is a beautiful movie, and I believe that censorship is harmful, no matter what the intentions behind the censorship. It's one thing to say, hey, I don't agree with the content of this movie, and it's another thing to say, no one should carry this movie, no one should watch this movie should be destroyed. Those are two very different mindsets. And again, like I said, I don't disagree with the movie. I think, again, there are things in it I don't agree with, but they're historical things, and they're things that make me uncomfortable, but that's not a feeling to shy away from. So yeah, that's my little rant. Honestly, the hardest thing about watching Song of the South is it made me want to go to Disneyland and ride Splash Mountain so bad. I love Splash Mountain. Last time I went to Disneyland, I wound up being by myself a lot. We went with like Lexi and Sadie and their parents, and my mom. And so a lot of the time I would just wander off to ride stuff by myself, and I just rode Splash Mountain like on loop. At one point I had a log entirely to myself, and it was so chill and so fun, and I love that ride. We're going to Disney World in November. I'm so excited. And Splash Mountain, the drop is higher at Disney World, so I'm really stoked for that. I think it's gonna be so much fun. Something else I wanted to say about the Song of the South movie is that I think it is Disney's sweetest love story. The main character of the movie is like probably 6 or 7, like he is little, and there's a little girl named Ginny who's around the same age. And it's not like a love story, like it's not a romance, but they just love each other so much, and they have the sweetest relationship. Like, there's a scene where they're going to his birthday party, and she's in this like brand new dress her mother made her, and she's so happy about it and so excited. She's never been to a party before, and her brothers, who are the actual worst, show up and like push her in the mud, and it's very reminiscent of the scene in Cinderella where her stepsisters like tear her ball gown. It's kind of that same like emotional impact. So her brothers ruin her dress, and the little boy, the main character, just jumps on them and just starts wailing on them. And it's the sweetest thing because he's so angry because they ruined her dress and that was important to her. And it just like their whole relationship is like that, where he just like takes care of her, and she's just such a good friend to him, and she gives him a dog, and she's just like, they're so cute. Like, it is the most pure relationship I've ever seen on screen, and I loved it so much. It's not really relevant to like this actual video, which is about Br'er Rabbit, who is like the best character. I love trickster characters in fairy tales. They are always my favorite. And so the Br'er Rabbit stories are just like right up my alley. He's such a fun character. And Br'er Bear is adorable and just kind of, I love Br'er Bear. I really do. I had the most fun with Br'er Rabbit's look. I think he came out really cute. Br'er Fox was the most frustrating because I found the perfect outfit and I loved it, but it was a CC vest and it clipped with the hat. And he's not Br'er Fox if he's not wearing a yellow hat. Like, that was so important. And so I had to completely change the outfit. And now it looks like my sim is going fishing. Like, it's way not as cute, and I'm really sad about it. But at least I got the yellow hat. I had to make that choice, and I chose the hat. But I really liked the first look better. So just putting that out there. I feel like I'm really all over the place, from like heavy, deep stuff to like totally off-topic stuff in this video. But I wanted to give a plug for how much I love this movie and the art in this movie, and I definitely recommend watching it for yourself if you haven't seen it already. Anyway, we are coming up on the end of these looks.
How do you do? How do you do? Say pretty good. How do you do? With everyone you think. Pretty good, sure as you're born. What goes up is sure to come down. Penny lost is a penny found. And how do you howdy back? This for that and tit for tat. How do you do?
Fine, how are you? How you come on?
Pretty good, sure as you're born.
Stop jumping, Br'er Rabbit, you'll run out of breath. Why don't you sit down and calm yourself?
Well, the grasshopper jump, so do the flea. I do what I like and I suits me.
I don't know where you gonna fetch up at. I surely don't.
So that is it for the March Disneybound Challenge, Day 8, Mary Blair. I am grateful to her and the beautiful art that she did for Disney. I love this movie and I had so much fun doing these looks. Let me know what you thought. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next episode. Bye!